episode number 7. You are listening to the More Than a Lawyer podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help lawyers and mums to thrive in their careers and motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversation with awesome women to help you reduce the struggle in your juggle. Hello and welcome to today's show. I am so excited to invite our guest on today. If you have ever thought about pursuing some passions outside of the law, then this episode is for you. I'll be speaking to the graphic designer who actually designed the cover art for this podcast. So if you're loving the cover art, then you have her to thank for it. Her name is Lilah Higgins and she is of the Higgins Creative, which is a graphic design agency. And she's also the founder of the Wait to Make movement. She gives us some tips on finding and pursuing your passions in today's show. You know, sometimes we are so immersed in our world of drafting, preparing submissions, doing legal updates, speaking to clients, doing presentations, that we forget that there are so many creative ways that we can express ourselves. And I hope that you enjoy this episode as we jump into some of those ways and also discuss a bit about motherhood and how she juggles her business with motherhood. So comfortable and have a listen. So that our audience can get to know you a bit, just give us a quick rundown of you. Like, how would you describe yourself in a short time?
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Great.
I am Lilah Higgins, and I run the Higgins Creative, and I'm trying to bring my husband on. So that's been, things are kind of shifting as we try to incorporate him, but I'm a branding designer and coach for creatives and makers. Okay. So I help people find their voice and brand their story in a way that gets to the right people and reaches the right people online.
Okay.
And he's more the tech side. So he's going to come in and eventually we want to offer full web design and stuff that is a little more tech-based. But right now, I just do the visuals, the graphics. I have 2 kids at home. They're 2 and 3, and yes, they're really close, and no, that wasn't on purpose, but it's working out so far.
We're working it out.
Yes, and they're awesome. And they, I just overheard Fletcher, my oldest, tell my youngest, he's like, Mom is working, you need to be quiet.
Oh, bless them.
Yeah, so they're super sweet and gracious when I'm having to work, so that's nice.
Oh, that's cool. And so, okay, so you said that you've got your design business. What did you do before? Have you always been in design, or have you done other things?
So I don't have any official education at all. I took one Photoshop class, which I don't even count. Okay. But I had fine art classes from the time I was 8 till I was about 16 from this incredibly talented art teacher. Her name was Mrs. Irwin, and she taught me everything she knew. And so we delve into every medium that you can name, like everything except I never threw pottery on a wheel, but we played with paper clay and all kinds of stuff. So I got basic design theory, and we did hand lettering and different types of art and kind of my art theory all through that. And then it was really easy for me to just translate that into computer work and just teach myself the programs. And I had access to that because my dad was an architect, so I always had the latest software and stuff. And so all self-taught past, my fine art background.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the things I just picked up on is the fact that you had a teacher who kind of made such a difference to you. And I think in all of our lives, there's always, there's often, I should say, an influential person. So one person who either was revealed the way or, opened up a whole new world for you. And so it's just, it's really awesome to hear that it's that teacher that really helped you to get going and not necessarily having that education that some people would say you should have.
Right.
There's always other ways, right? There's always other ways to do things.
Yeah. I was pretty much kind of like her, the guild system where you have an apprentice. I was like her apprentice.
Okay.
And we did all kinds of stuff. It was not just we're painting this painting today. It was she taught me art theory, the processes behind art, how things, you want to kind of have that mindset when you're in art. It doesn't have to be done. We can continue to tweak these things and that whole thing. She taught me all of that. So yes, I owe her for forever, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I just love knowing that people can inspire other people to then go on and do more, you know. So she showed you what she knew, and then you probably like been able to build on that, and then you're sharing your talent with the world through your business, which is just amazing. Just love
Yeah,
it.
it's awesome. It's awesome.
I love stuff like that. So what would you say you found challenging? So for our listeners, a lot of our listeners are women who are going through some kind of transition in their life. So they might be changing their career, they might be trying to establish themselves in their career, or just entering like a new phase like motherhood. And so we all face challenges. So for you, what would you say have been like just one of your major challenges that you faced with either getting your business up or becoming a mom?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges that come with being a mom in the first place, and then continuing to build on your daily routine with stuff that might make you money or that type of thing. I think the biggest challenge for me was letting go of like the expectation I had for what my life would look like as a mom.
Okay.
Because you don't get to see the whole picture when you're not a mom, and you watch other moms from the outside. Like, you don't see everything. And so, you might, even if you know them well and maybe you spend a lot of time in their house, like you see the discipline and you see the fights and all that stuff, but you don't see like the heart stuff.
Yes,
that no one really ever talks about. Shh, sorry, that's my son.
That's okay.
He made himself a jelly sandwich, so he's showing me. I'm very proud
jam
of him.
for the audience that's in the UK.
Yeah, jam. He actually calls it jam because he watches Sarah and Duck, which is a UK show, and so yeah, he talks about like going to the yogurt shop and yeah.
Oh, bless him.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, letting go of that expectation of like, this is what my life's supposed to look like. This is how I'm supposed to feel as a mom when I feel completely the opposite.
Yes.
And giving myself grace in that, and realizing too that like my growth as a mom, my growth as a business owner is probably going to be slower than someone who's perhaps single or doesn't have kids, or doesn't have a business. Like, there's going to be some different processes that take place there, because I'm just I have a lot of things that I'm trying to accomplish, and so I just have to give myself grace in like the slow growth of that process.
Yeah, I think I can totally relate to that. And I've spoken to other mums, when I take my son to baby groups, and the expectation kind of comes from, like you said, seeing other people but not really living in their shoes, and then reading all the books, the textbooks that say, right, if you do this, your baby will do that. Which
never happens.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I literally wanted to throw the books out the window because they were telling me that my son should be sleeping through the night by now, and I'm like, hey, he's 10 months and he's still not sleeping through the night. He's still waking up. Like, what? I've tried what you said and it's not working. So I just came to the realization that, hey, he hasn't read this manual, like he hasn't read this book. He has his own agenda. So what I should do is, instead of studying the books, just study him and just get to know,
I love that.
Just get to know him as a person. And then he has to get to know me, I have to get to know him, and then we have to adjust, instead of feeling like you have to meet this bar that is set out there, and actually it's not realistic. Because if you speak to most mums, they're going to say like, no, that didn't work.
And what works for one kid didn't work for the other kid.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, everyone is different. And I ran a webinar talking about the fourth, how to survive the fourth trimester, which is, talking about that newborn stage, and expectations and reality was a key part that I talked about, because once you let go of those expectations, it just lifts everything. It's like a weight comes off your shoulders, because you're not trying to live up to a standard that isn't for you.
Right.
And so I think it's really important to get to that stage where you're just like, it's okay for me to do me, right? And not be worried about comparing with other people.
Right, or even just like comparing with yourself, because like maybe I had this idea like of what I would be like as a mom, and that ideal isn't met most days, and so it's not even necessarily like comparing to other people. Just like my idea for how I thought I would handle all of this, looks totally different. So it can get at you a lot of different ways, I think.
I think the other thing is, it it reminds me to mention, you know, we all say sometimes like, oh, I would never do this, or I would never do that. You see someone like scolding their child in the street and you're like, oh, why are they talking to their child like that? I would never do that. And then you become a mum and you find yourself being like,
yeah, 5 years later, that's you.
like, oh, I so shouldn't have said stuff like that. Like, I so shouldn't have said I would never, because I really don't know what I would never do until you're in that situation.
Exactly.
So that's cool. So tell me about what would you say then to your younger self? So if now that you've come through the first couple of years as a mum, and you know, you're at the beginning stages of building your business, and you're accepting that it's going to take time, how would you advise your younger self to approach what you've just come through?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I would probably just say something like, "Hey, it's not going to look like anything like you picture it." So just go with the flow, and, you know, just let it happen like it's going to happen, because it's still awesome and it's still going to be amazing, and you're still going to, you know, get all these great opportunities, and you're still going to, you know, be a part of something bigger than yourself, but it's not going to look like you picture it right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely great advice.
And I wouldn't tell her what it would look like, because then she'd have expectations for, you know, however she translates that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just tell her, you don't even know.
And so, you mentioned earlier that that you're trying to get your husband on board with the business. So, talk to me a bit about your relationship and how it might have changed from before you were parents and before you were trying to do business together. What has there been any shifts for you?
Yeah, there has. Well, we got married like right out of high school, so we were babies. And then we started having kids right away. So it's like 18 months after we got married, we had Fletcher. And yeah, it's interesting because we haven't noticed like a specific shift, but the other day Zach told me, since I've been bringing in income, a couple months ago I matched his income, and he told me, he's like, I realized that I haven't really seen you as equal. He's like, I don't think that like I've, you know, treated you poorly or anything like that, but like once you brought in that income, I realized I hadn't been treating you like you brought the same amount of things to the family that I did.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, I'm so sorry. And he felt really bad, even though like I hadn't felt that way at all.
Oh, okay. So it's not something you felt, it's just something that he realized
not at all.
in his...
Yeah, he just realized, he's like, oh, I could treat you even more as even more of an equal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think
that's so interesting.
It really was for him. It was kind of this moment of like, oh, I realized I haven't been treating you like as good as I can.
Yeah.
Or thinking of you as good as I can, kind of thing. And so that was kind of a fun moment for us, just because I have felt that way personally, like that I don't bring enough because I don't work and I don't, you know, help provide for the family. Like I can sit and binge watch TV all day if I wanted to, and you know, we'd still be fine at the end of the month because he works, kind of thing. So that was kind of a fun moment for me. As far as when we became parents, there was obviously a shift, but I don't know if like I could name it. We became like more of a team, because it was like, you know, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and we're going to do it together. Yeah. And we brought these lives into the world. So now we like have a job to do. Before that, I don't think we had a reason to feel that way towards each other.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of. That's kind of a bad answer, but
no, it's not. It's a good answer. I can relate to the team thing. My husband and I, from when we got married, we were kind of like, okay, like we're team E. We're team E. It's us against the world. So whatever we do, we have to remember that we have each other's back. Right. And now it's like we've added another little member to the team. So it has been very much tag team, and he's such a good dad. He's so hands-on with my son, which is awesome. So, you know, those moments where it's just like, I just need a minute, can you just take him? He'll happily do that and just take him and play with him or whatever.
Yeah, we call it tapping out, like in a race. Like I'm tapped out. Like,
oh yeah, that's so good. I should adopt that. I love that. Like I just can't anymore. Like
yeah,
you need to take over. So yeah, I think it's really important to to take that stance in relationships, especially when you have young children, because otherwise, if you don't come together as a team, it's easy for things to come between you and you to just start bickering and just feeling like, oh, you don't understand where I'm coming from. I'm working harder than you, or I'm doing more than you are. But knowing that as a family you're working together to achieve a common goal definitely keeps you on track, right?
Exactly. And I think if you don't have that, like, I think that's probably the core of where a lot of relationships fail, because you don't have that like one thing to fight for
Yeah.
or fight against, and you're not. My mom always described it like when you're fighting with your husband, take the thing that you're fighting and put it outside of you and look at it. Look, the two of you look at that thing and figure out how to work it out instead of having it between you and
Yeah.
keeping you apart. Like, work on the problem together.
Yeah.
And try and figure out how to get it in. And that requires removing the emotions as much as you can too.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it helps to like be united on one front where you can kind of like, be a team, and that keeps you from bickering most days.
Most days. Yeah, it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. You just have to be able to come together at the end and just hug.
Right.
I remember before my husband and I got married, we've been married for coming up 6 years in October. We did like premarital counselling, and we did it with a pastor, and he told us, when you guys are not, when you don't like each other and when you feel like you just don't want to talk to each other, what I want you to do is hug. I want you to hug, and then I want you to try and be upset with each other while you're hugging. And it's just like, what are you talking about? But the fact is, as soon as you do that, you let down those barriers and those like being upset, and then you just have to laugh about it. So
yeah, exactly.
I try and remember that sometimes. I'll just be like, let's just hug. Or I'll just hug him.
I love that.
So it's a good hugging is always good. So in terms of let's talk a bit about your business then and your vision for it and how you see it growing, and what's your aim? Because it's just really inspiring, I guess, for anyone who starts something from scratch. It's almost like your business is like a baby as well, because you're putting in so much into it and you want to grow it, and you have to nurture it in order for it to thrive in the same way you would with your children.
Right.
So where do you see it going? Where do you want it to go?
Yeah. So, and along with that, I just wanted to say raising your business, raising your family, like, it also takes a village to raise both.
Yeah.
And so I will be forever grateful for, my first clients and the people that have, said, hey, there's a typo on your page, or hey, you could say this a little bit better, or, people that have acted as little mini coaches to help me improve and get better and better.
Yeah.
And shout out to my current coach, Dana Malstaff from the Boss Mom Academy, and she's awesome. And she is awesome.
I've been binge listening to the Boss Mom podcast.
I love her podcast.
I just love it. She's so cool.
Yes, and so she's helped a lot. Helped me gain clarity and push the business forward in the last 4 months now. So that's been awesome. But my big dream for the business, so it's based around the idea that we're all called to create. So everyone's a maker. Everyone has something or the potential for something that they get to bring into the world that's completely unique to them. And so I help people find that.
Okay.
And then I help them, present it to the world with a visual face.
Okay.
But the idea behind that is kind of helping people come alive to what they were called to do. Mm-hmm. And so eventually I would love to have maker meetups where there's local groups of people that get together to collaborate, to encourage each other. Maybe they go through a book study together or something like that. And then eventually, hopefully, a conference, like a Wake to Make conference or something along those lines to just, I don't know, to help call the generation to something better.
Okay. And when you say the generation, so who is your kind of target person? How would you describe that person who would benefit from your...
Yeah, the person that is not content where they are because of circumstance, because of their own choices, because of, they don't know how to do anything else. The person that wants to kind of create a life for themselves.
Okay.
So it's a lot of newer small business owners or moms who have blogs on the side, or people who are trying to make the leap from hobby to business. People are trying to quit their 9 to 5 to support themselves.
Yeah.
Those type of people. The people that are like dreamers and don't really know how to get there, and I want to help them get there.
That's awesome. Your mission is aligned with my mission.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is awesome. So I kind of come from a place of being a career woman. I trained as a lawyer. I worked really hard to get there, and then when I qualified, I was like, hey, is this what it is? Am I going to do this for the rest of my working days? And as much as I enjoy the intellectual challenge and working with clients, there's also a side of me that's like, I want to do more to help people, like on a personal level, which is why I trained to be a coach. But I know what it's like to be that lawyer sitting behind your desk with like stacks and stacks of paper to be going through and just thinking, oh, this isn't what I want to do. But then thinking, what else would I do? Like, if I didn't do this, what else would I do? Because for a lot of people, their career and what they do is very much tied in with their identity. So if you take away the title a lawyer, it's like, okay, so what's left?
Exactly.
And so I guess my question for you is, what advice would you give to someone who's in that space where they're like, if I'm not this, then what am I? Or if I'm not an accountant, who am I? If I'm not a teacher, who am I then? How do you help people to get past that kind of mental block?
Usually if someone's like super new at wanting to, change their life and do something different, I just tell them to start trying different things, start doing some research, listen to podcasts, read books, like discover what kind of sets your soul on fire and what makes you passionate.
Mm-hmm.
Another good way to measure is what makes you angry.
Okay.
What do you want to see changed in the world? What makes you look at that? And as our pastor says, he says, that ain't right. Like, what makes you say that's not right? Like, I need to change that. I need to do something about that.
Okay.
And then figure out how you can do that. So the how is kind of the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
You let yourself, discover it. You can pretty easily figure out what makes you mad, what, drives you, what makes you want to try and change something. But then the how to get there, like say it's sex trafficking, you want to help end sex slavery. Like, okay, that's great. A lot of people want to help end that. But what are you going to do in the meantime, like to fill that gap between your desire to fix it and actually fixing it?
Yeah.
So are you going to start a business that raises money for it? And what are you good at making? Then we can, talk about like how can you make money easily and quickly? And how can you get behind this movement or, whatever it is for that person specifically.
Yeah. And I guess you said the how is difficult, but once you figure out the why, so the passion, then you've got your kind of motivation and your driving force. It brought to mind, I don't know if you've listened to a TED Talk by, I'm trying to remember, Simon, I think it's Sinek. Yeah. He does a TED Talk about finding your why and the reason why you do things, and it was just really really powerful, really inspirational.
That's awesome. I will look that up. I love TED Talks.
Yeah, his one is really, really good. He talks about how businesses should start with their why when they're getting going.
And that keeps you going when business gets hard or no one wants to buy your stuff or you're frustrated or you get really bored and you just like don't know if you can keep going. If you can remember your why and why you're doing what you're doing, that will push you through the hard days.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that you said, just get out there and start trying different things. And if you wanna meet a need, then do something instead of just being like, oh, I want to help, I don't know how, and then not acting on it.
Right, just try something and try that for a few months, and if that doesn't work, shift it into something else. Like there's plenty of room for you to like try, for you to like get out there and just try things.
Yeah. Awesome. This has been so lovely speaking to you and like learning about your journey and how we can, inspire other women who are looking to make change. So if someone needed your services, so they needed to learn about branding and like your design, how would they reach out to you?
So our website is thehigginscreative.com, or you can email me at hello@thehigginscreative.com.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you have your Wake hold on, is it Wake to Make? Yes,
Wake to Make
movement.
That's a hashtag mostly on Instagram, but it's on Twitter and Facebook too. And there's, I think last time I checked, there's like 15,000 hashtags on it. So there's a lot of people with a lot of cool stuff. So you can feel free to join in on that as well.
Awesome. I will check that out. So I will put everything that you've mentioned just now in the show notes so people can check it out. But it's been awesome having you on today, and I'm just excited to hear more about where you go with this business and how it grows. So yeah, thank you for coming on board.
Thank you so much. I love your why, and I love being able to support you in this. So thank you again.
Thanks, Lilah. Isn't Lilah just lovely? It was so great to learn so much from her about how to go about finding your passions and embracing your creative side. I hope you were as inspired as I was to spend more time exploring and trying new things. So share with me, what are you going to commit to trying over the coming weeks and months? I would love to hear from you. So head over to www.lightboxcoaching.com/community and join the More Than a Lawyer Facebook community and connect with me there and let me know what you're going to try and what you found most useful from this conversation with Lilah Higgins. So that brings us to the end of today's show. It has been fabulous hanging out with you again today, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Bye for now. The More Than a Lawyer podcast features music from Awesound.